Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing kind of like a story time on the birth of our second child in Australia. We are currently in South Africa. He was born 5 months ago in Australia, and I'm just going to be going through the details of what happened and what led up to what happened in his birth. It was not what we had expected at all, but I did just want to make this video for all those expecting moms out there who maybe want to kind of know what to expect, what's going to happen, what to prepare for. Just a disclaimer that every birth is so different and your experience might not be anything like mine. But when I was pregnant, I really enjoyed watching these videos that were a bit more in detail so I could kind of know what to expect. So if you are my family, this might be a little bit TMI and I don't suggest you watch it. So maybe just skip this one. So without further ado, let's start from the beginning. We had our son in Australia. We usually live in South Africa. You can check out my videos below to see why we were there. This birth didn't go at all according to what I thought was going to happen. I had it all planned out in my head. I had a plan of what I wanted, what I didn't want, and this was none of it at all. With our daughter, who was born 3 and a bit years ago, I had her in South Africa and I wasn't able to get an epidural even though I had asked for one for a couple of different reasons. I'll link that video up here, one of the corners, and it was really traumatic for me. I was left in a room for a long time. I'm not saying every experience in South Africa is like this. I think I just got a really busy night and they were super understaffed. It was just really bad, and I realized with my second birth that it was actually really traumatic for me. But that's a whole other story. With our son, I was planning on also going natural because I was like, I've done this before, like I can deal with this, I'll do it again. Then I ended up like having Braxton Hicks contractions. If you don't know what that is, it's basically where your body is practicing for labor, and it can feel really real. Like it can be really painful. We ended up going to the hospital when I was supposedly 36 plus like 6 days, so almost 37, which is when our daughter was born, if the dates were right. And I was like, nope, we're going in. I'm having so much pain. We asked my mom to watch our daughter and got to the hospital, and they were like, okay, you're 2 centimeters dilated. You're having like regular contractions. You're probably going to be sent upstairs into the delivery rooms this evening. We waited there a couple of hours, we got our bags, and then they ended up sending us home because they said I wasn't progressing, and they had a feeling now that it was actually Braxton Hicks contractions, even though previously they had told us it's not Braxton Hicks contractions. In any case, it turns out I was in prodromal labor for 2 weeks, and it was really frustrating. I was tired and heavy, and the baby was massive, and I was just like, this kid is never going to come. I'm going to feel like I'm pregnant for the rest of my life. Which obviously is not going to be the case, but it was really frustrating and painful because I was still getting contractions every single day. I went in for our 38.5-week checkup, and we did a sweep, which is kind of like where they check if you're dilated and it can bring on labor basically. And I was already 2 centimeters dilated, and she was like, no, you should be going into labor like any minute. And our appointment like went really well. It was the last one we ended up having because just before we left, I had just mentioned to her that I didn't really feel movements the same way that I had before, and like I was slightly concerned, but I don't really think anything of it. I just wanted to let her know. And she like looked at me and she was like, you're gonna have to go downstairs for monitoring. And I was so annoyed. I remember being so irritated at the time and thinking, it's like my whole morning is going to be spent being hooked up to monitors, and it's probably not even necessary. We went downstairs, and that's basically where they hook you up and they check the baby's heart rate and a couple of other things, and the baby has to pass like a bunch of tests before they can send you home. And about an hour and a half into it, we heard this like beep, like this really long beep, and I remember Vaughan and I just looked at each other and were like, what does that mean? Like, why is it beeping? And it was during one of the contractions I was having because I was already in early labor, they call it. And a nurse came in and she was like, I don't want to alarm you or anything, but your baby's heart rate just dropped for the whole contraction. And we're very concerned. And so we're going to just get the doctor in to just come check on you and get his advice and see what he wants to do. And so the doctor ended up coming in and he was like, okay, you're being induced today. You're going to go upstairs and have your baby today. Let everyone know and go get your bags. So we were so shocked because that is like not what we thought. The doctor sat down and just told us he didn't want to send us home because, you know, it would be on him if something happened and he didn't feel comfortable with doing that. And so we were like, okay, cool. We actually had an induction date for the next week, Tuesday. They can only schedule an induction at very close to 40 weeks. They don't like doing it any earlier, at least at this hospital that we were at. And so we were like, okay, cool, I don't have to do another week of this. We got sent upstairs, we rushed around, we grabbed our bags, we phoned our daughter at school and just let her know, like, we're not going to come pick you up today because we're having baby brother, and my mom took care of her. So that was all fine. We were just like kind of in a shock and like, we were like, no, this isn't really happening, is it? It was just so surreal. Went upstairs, ended up getting hooked up to an IV, which took like 2 attempts and it was really sore. I don't know, the nurse doing it was like pretty rough and it was a little bit sore, but that's fine, it worked in the end. We ended up, because I was already dilated and my body was kind of starting to go into labor on its own, they wanted to just break my waters and then see if I could progress naturally. So they did that and it was really uncomfortable. That was probably the worst part of the whole thing, was that it was really uncomfortable. There are different methods that you have to go through in an induction dependent on if you are dilated or not, if your body's ready or not. Okay, so my camera was full and so I had to delete some of the footage, and then now I see that the battery's flat and my son has woken up. So I'm gonna have to continue this later. I'm gonna go get him, put this on charge, and I'll be right back. Hey, I'm back. It's been a couple of hours. He's down for a nap again, so I'm going to continue. I think what I was saying was with the induction, there are a couple of different methods that you can do depending on if your body is ready or not. So because I had already started kind of going into labor, we just had to break the waters and hope that everything kind of continued on from there naturally. But sometimes, like if you haven't dilated at all, your cervix hasn't thinned at all, you have to take certain pills that they like put up there to help soften the cervix and like help you get dilated. There's also, I think it's called the balloon or something if I'm not mistaken, that you have to put in to like open your cervix, and thank goodness I didn't have to do that because I've heard that it can be quite painful, and it can also be like a really long process. And with an induction there is a little bit of a higher risk of potentially needing to have a C-section if your body just doesn't respond well to it, or the baby, or you know, the process can sometimes take like quite a long time. So this labor was way longer than the one with my daughter. That was super fast. It was like 7 hours. Waters broke, hospital, she was like born. It was all very fast, and this time it took a little bit longer. Was not at all what we had expected. Luckily we had a really nice room. I'll put a photo up here. We had a really nice view. That was literally our street. So like we lived at the end of the street, and then way down the end, it would have been like a 15-minute walk, it was the hospital. And so we had a beautiful view. It was about 12 o'clock when they sent us upstairs to the labor ward, and the labor rooms, and like fully checked us in and stuff. And I was just really glad actually that it happened the way that it did. It's not what I had expected, but I'm glad how it turned out. Our room was really nice. The nurses were really friendly. There was always someone with us, which was very different to my experience in South Africa, because there was a nurse, but she would come and check on you and then like leave for a while. And I just felt like when we needed help, we couldn't find anyone to help us. So this was really different. There was always someone there, which was nice. At about 3 o'clock, I hadn't progressed. I think, or maybe 1 centimeter. I'd progressed like 1 more centimeter. So I was 3 centimeters dilated, 3 o'clock, and they were like, listen, this is going to really take a long time. And I didn't actually want to take anything to like jumpstart the labor other than that, but I just wasn't progressing naturally, and so I had to end up getting a drip of Pitocin, which is a synthetic form of oxytocin, which is the hormone that your body releases when you go into labor. It's also the hormone, I think, that's called like the happy hormone, if I'm not mistaken. So like when you cuddle and stuff like that with someone, that's the feeling that you get, and it helps your labor progress. And so I had to go into a drip, and within, I want to say 30 minutes of that, things like ramped up so fast. It was extremely painful. The contractions were so sore. I just remember sitting there like this, and like I had my eyes closed. I couldn't talk to anyone. I just couldn't see anything. I was in so much pain. I remember just like the tears running down my face. And I remember when I looked in the mirror a while after that, I ended up like black all over my face because I was crying so much. And I ended up asking for an epidural, which is something that I have been struggling with a lot post, like having my son post labor and everything, because that's not what I wanted originally. And for some reason I struggled in my mind, like I could do this, I'm strong enough, like I don't need to have an epidural. And then recently I've realized, this is a whole other story, but there is nothing wrong with getting an epidural if it's needed, and if you can't deal with the pain, it is totally okay. It doesn't make you any less worthy. It doesn't make you any less of a mother. It just really helps. Like it really, really helped me. And I think if I were to ever have another child again, I would probably just opt for an epidural straight away. I was really scared of the side effects, because there are side effects of having an epidural. You can go do your research on that. But I was really terrified, and needles freak me out. So if you don't know what an epidural is, it's where they put like a needle in your spine, and it basically blocks all your nerve receptors, and then you can't feel anything from here down. There's different methods of doing it in terms of how much you can get, and here in Australia, well not here, in Australia, when we had our child there, I got my own button, which I think released like 5 mils per hour or something like that. You could click it. I tried not to press it too often because I still wanted to have some feeling, but at one point I remember they constantly, every hour, check you with ice, so to see where you have feeling and where's numb. So they would start with your feet, and they'd put blocks of ice and kind of work their way up. At one point it was really, really high, and she was like, listen, we need to sit you up higher so that it doesn't come up like to your heart. So I had to kind of sit more upright just so that it would stay low, and I felt like amazing because all the pain was gone. I could relax. With my first labor, I couldn't think. I was in so much pain. I was crying, writhing in pain. I don't know. Some people have natural births and they say it's not that painful, but to me it really was. And the second time when I had the epidural, it was like amazing. It was honestly like bliss. Like I got the epidural at 4 p.m. It took ages. It felt like it took ages for the anesthesiologist to come, but it was really not that long, like 30 minutes or something. I remember just sitting there and being like, you're taking so long, please hurry. And he's like, I'm just washing my hands, so there's no infection. And I was like, hurry up. I was in so much pain. But anyway, as soon as I got it, it was just like bliss. It was so nice. You don't feel any pain. You can still feel when you have a contraction, but it's not extremely painful. Let me know what your experience is down in the comments below, because I find it really interesting. Some people don't agree with having an epidural. Some people don't have a birth without an epidural. So I guess it's all personal preference. And yeah, so 4 o'clock I got that, and it was amazing. The only thing that I kind of struggled with is because we had been at the hospital literally all day since 8 a.m. We had one meal after that appointment because they were like, you're going to go up and have a baby, so go eat something. So we just went to the cafeteria there, and I think we had a bite to eat. I think I had like half a sandwich or something. And then by 4 p.m. I was like, I'm really hungry, like can I please eat something? And that's the one thing where I was like, oh, it was difficult. They didn't let me eat anything. I just remember being like so irritated because I was like in labor and I was about to have a baby and I couldn't even eat anything. Now that I think about it, I'm like, really, it was just food. Like, but anyways, I wanted to get energy and be sustained, and they were like, no. I don't know, something about if you had to have an emergency C-section, then it wasn't good to be eating with anesthesia and stuff like that. I remember laying there probably at about, even like way after dinner time, like probably 9 p.m. or something, we're just like chilling, we're chatting to the nurses, sharing stories about things and their lives. They were so friendly, honestly, they were so nice. Vaughn was chilling next to me. He went and got like a Red Bull out the vending machine, and they ended up bringing me some icy poles, which was nice. They always keep icy poles there, and jelly and stuff, which you can have apparently. So I remember just sitting there like eating that, chilling, and I had my full intention of bringing the camera in and like filming everything, but like when I got there I was like, this feels like such a sacred time that's just between me and my husband and like the baby being born in the midwife. Like I didn't want to intrude and bring a camera in and have my son's first experience be like on camera, like of the world be on camera. So I was like, no, I brought the camera and then I didn't film anything, which I'm fine with. It was just, it felt so peaceful and so calm. I remember it just feels so weird when you have the epidural, because you don't have all the same like sensations and stuff, and so sometimes you don't know like when you're supposed to push and when you're not supposed to push and stuff like that, but you can still feel pressure, or I did. And so we were just sitting there and I was like, how do you know when your baby's going to be born? They were like, no, you'll probably feel a lot of pressure anyway. So a couple of hours went by, and at 12 o'clock I was like, okay, I can feel a lot of pressure, I think it's time. And they checked and they were like, yeah, 10 centimeters dilated, like you're gonna have the baby pretty soon. And 20 minutes later he was born. He was born so fast that he actually came out with like bruising all over his face, which took like a good week to fully clear up. It was super fast. I just remember sitting there. He was born at midnight, so it was like 12:20 at night, and I just remember looking out the window and being like, this is so calm. The lights were dimmed, it was really calm. I just remember feeling like so peaceful. The only thing I wish I had have really done differently was played my own music, because I actually wanted to play like Christian worship music, which I didn't end up doing just because I didn't know, I didn't want to impose on other people, which I know I shouldn't have, because it was my like labor. I should have just done what I wanted. And the other thing is that I just didn't actually pray or talk to God in that time, which I feel like I had all the intention of doing before going in there. And when I was in the moment, it just all like left my mind, and I didn't even think of that, which I'm now really disappointed in that I didn't do that, because maybe I wouldn't have had to have an epidural. I don't know. We can't change what happened, but I don't mind that I had the epidural. It was really calm. I was just so grateful that it was such a calm experience. I remember him just being born and me just feeling like blissful. I wasn't exhausted. I was tired, but I wasn't as to the core exhausted as I was the first time when I was in so much pain. And so it was just calm and beautiful. It was just Vaughn there, my husband, and the two midwives, and it was really nice. He got to lay on my chest for quite a while, which I didn't get to have with my daughter. It only lasted like a couple seconds last time, I remember, and I was really disappointed in that. And after that, I actually ended up getting a 2nd degree tear, which I ended up getting stitches for, and it was really painful. It actually ended up coming out like this, and so it was a disaster, and I got a 2nd degree tear and quite a couple of stitches, and that was the hardest part of recovery, but that's a whole other story. So they ended up stitching me up. If you don't have an epidural, then I think they give you local anesthetic in the area. A doctor has to come in and do the stitching and stuff like that, and then they just checked him and stuff after they had, like, they checked me and then they checked him and he was weighed and all of that was done. And then at about 1 o'clock, I remember I got to have like a nice warm shower. The baby was taken care of, Vaughn was with him, and I got to have a shower. I was still wobbly because obviously they had to take the epidural out. So they pull the needle out your spine. That was really sensitive there afterwards for like a good month. It was sore. I felt bruising all the way around where the needle had gone in, like it goes in the middle of your spine, and it was bruised and it was sore. When I bent down, I could feel it. So that's always something to keep in mind if you are thinking of having an epidural. I know that the side effects are that later on in life you can potentially have some back issues as well, but at that time I was like, I don't even care, I need the pain to go away. And so I got to have a nice shower. I was a bit wobbly, but it was fine. they were like, no, it's fine, you can have a shower because like you can walk and your husband's there, it's fine. I ended up packing all my own toiletries. It was really nice. They give you a towel, I had a nice warm shower, and then at about 4, my husband actually, because we lived down the road and we didn't have a car at the time, we were borrowing my mom's car every so often, he ended up running home at 4 a.m. It was pouring with rain. He wasn't allowed to stay at the hospital, and he didn't want to either because our daughter was at home, so he just wanted to go and check on her that she was okay. And he ran home in the pouring rain at 4 a.m. I stayed at the hospital, obviously, had maybe 3 hours of sleep or something. And you know, they always keep checking on you, like they come in and out. The room that we had after delivery was nice. I didn't get to stay in the delivery suite area because it was fully booked, so they put me somewhere else. I think it was like where you go, I don't even know, when you want to get like checked in, like those rooms for monitoring and stuff. I think it was where I was before. I was so kind of like drugged up on pain meds that I don't even know. Anyways, it was nice. I had my own room for most of the time until the next morning someone else came in, but they had a curtain closed, so I couldn't even see her anyway. It was just overall like a really good experience, and I feel like even though it wasn't what I went in with the intention of doing, it worked out much better than I thought it ever could have. And it was just really calm, and I actually really appreciated the way that it worked out and how calm and caring all the nurses were, the midwives. And I'm glad I didn't have a high-risk pregnancy. Can you hear that? There's someone whippersnipping outside and then someone blowing on the road. Anyway, I can see them from here. You can't, but I don't know if you can hear them. If you can, that's what it is. Anyway, long story short, it was a really, really good experience. Because of the whole situation in the world right now, I wasn't actually allowed visitors, or I was allowed 2 visitors, and one of them counted as my daughter and one of them my husband. So the next morning they both came and they brought me coffee from Chibo and a croissant, and it was just really nice. It was such a good experience. Ava meeting her brother was so cute. Oh my gosh, she was obsessed with him. She just wanted to hold him the whole time. Is that the baby? Is that the baby? It was so cute. And yeah, I guess that was our experience. I can't remember if I said it was actually a public hospital, and I'm really impressed with the hospital. Like, it was fantastic. Everyone was so friendly. I think I've said that about 1,000,000 times. But some people are unfortunate. Like, I was to have such an incredible experience. Like, with my first birth was not. It was traumatic and it was terrible. The whole hospital experience was just terrible all the way around. And so I feel very grateful the way that it turned out. I know that it can be really, really intimidating going into labor, and sometimes you don't know, like, what should I be preparing for? What should I, like, not be doing? And I think every experience is so personal. Personally, I wish I had have brought in like some sort of essential oils with like a burner and like some calming like worship music or something, which I didn't do, so I would have done that differently. But if I can give you a suggestion, it's just like have at least a rough birth plan, like know what you want and know what you don't want. And I guess you're not going to know actually even if you have a plan, it's not necessarily going to go according to plan, but I think it's good to have a rough draft just to give that to your midwives and say, this is what I want from my birth. If you don't want certain pain meds, if you do want pain meds, if you want gas, if you want an epidural, because sometimes when you're in the moment and in so much pain, your mind just goes so jumbled up, like you can't think, you can't talk, and so it's good to have it written down. Other than that, go in with no expectations of what it's going to be like, so that also you're not going to be disappointed if it goes differently to what you had originally planned. And know that at the end of it, I hope you're going to have a healthy, beautiful baby. That's all that we can hope for in moments like that. Obviously a healthy mother as well. And by the end of it, you're going to have a beautiful little baby to hold, and everything's going to be okay. If you want to leave me a comment down below, go ahead and do so. Let me know what your birth experience was like. I love talking about stuff like this. I love breaking the barriers and having it not be like an awkward thing to talk about, because it's normal and it's natural, and talking about it is sometimes really good therapy. So if you want to leave me a comment, you can. If you want to inbox me on Instagram, you can also do that. If you don't want to have it public, we can chat about it. And thank you so much for watching this video. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe, please, and a bell notification. Click that bell notification to get our future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye. We'll be right back.